Hi, we're looking at 2021 trends. Wow. 2021, the new trends. Innovation has not slowed down, which is so wonderful, being that everything else kind of sort of slowed down, the new world that we're living in today, knowing that the innovation is moving fast and furious. Today, I am so happy to have Dr. Michael Gold, a board certified dermatologist with us. And I will talk about his bio in a couple of minutes, but he's going to discuss what's new on the horizon for the upcoming year. He's very busy creating new programs in his medspa and his dermatology practice. He's doing lots of
I
testing.
don't care. Whoever wants to watch it. I don't know what it is.
We will learn more about Dr. Gold's new innovations in programs and testing new injectables and fillers, and what he's planning, and how we can all grow our menus, grow our practices. Dr. Gold is developing these new profit centers that we're very excited he's going to share with us here today, probably for the first time, at least this month. And so we're looking very much forward to talking with Dr. Gold about the trends in innovation. And since it hasn't slowed down, which is great, just so you know, we do have a survey at the end. We do appreciate if you fill it out. There is a handout giveaway, a piece that I had produced for Medesthetics magazine on the 7 strategies to memorable, profitable experiences, and really exceeding the expectations of our patients and our clients, which is really what we all want to do, especially in times now of disruption and communication. So I will tell you a little bit more about Dr. Gold, and then he will be live. So for most of you who know Dr. Gold, board certified dermatologist, and you can all see him on the screen there, he's the founder and medical director of the Gold Skincare Center, Advanced Aesthetics Medical Spa, Laser and Rejuvenation Center in Tennessee. He's in Nashville, has an amazing practice, amazing building. I've been there, been very impressed. If you're ever in Nashville, he'll invite you for sure to come for a tour. He's a board certified dermatologist and dermatology surgeon, and he's world renowned. He plays an integrated part in developing new pharmaceutical products, injectables and fillers, and equipment, of which you'll hear about today. So I'm excited to learn about that. Authored over 300 published articles. I'm sure the number's even higher now that he's home and he's not Superman running around the country every weekend in a different trade show. In addition, Dr. Gold helped establish the Tennessee Society for Laser Medicine and Surgery, and he is a co-host of the Scale meeting. If you haven't attended, hopefully next year we can all attend live. It is an amazing, great, he puts on a 5-star trade show. So I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Michael Gold, and we're excited to get started.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. Good to be with you. It's been a crazy morning, so that's a good thing, I guess.
It's good to keep busy. That is for sure. And I know that you have so many great pearls to share. This is a short program, maybe 25 minutes or so, but
Sure.
We want to know what you're expecting looking at 2021. I mean, I know it's $1 million question.
Normality. Yeah. So it's what I'm looking for as a doctor and as somebody who sees patients every day, but looking at the bigger picture of what the heck has gone on for the last 7 months now. And talking to a couple of my colleagues today who, like I do, run meetings, we're done until there's a vaccine that is safe and effective and that is given to enough people that we can all travel and congregate in large groups together. So when we're talking about large groups, we're talking, as you know from the meetings, 1,000, 2,000 in Europe. I have a couple meetings that I go to are 15,000 people. The American Academy of Dermatology is 20,000. We're not doing that until it gets comforting. So what I'm hoping is that by sort of sometime in the second quarter, or if not early summer, that we get back to being able to get in on airplanes and go and learn. But I think we've all gotten okay with Zoom and the, on all these other platforms, which are not the same as doing it and being there live and interacting with everybody, but it's much safer. So this has been, and I miss traveling. So I think we will eventually get back to some sort of normality. I think that when I think of it from a doctor point of view, I think this is going to be a yearly vaccine, just like the flu vaccine. I don't think it's going to be a once in a lifetime and you're done. So we have to just wait till the studies are done, which will either be that way or some other way that we can figure out how to do this safely. But the world has totally changed. And if we don't do our homework and we don't do things correctly, and I don't care politics aside, we're seeing upticks all over the world. And that's the scariest part. So we've got to be careful.
No, safety is most important. I mean, so in your practice, and I know you have your dermatology surgery. Yeah, you got your mask. All right, mine is over there. I didn't think I needed it for you today, but I do have it. But the truth is, how is it affecting your patients and your flow? Maybe even in your medspa, because people have questions. So I go in and get a facial, get laser hair removal.
Right. So when we first opened up, so we were not, everything shut down in March-ish timeframe, and we were not allowed to do any elective procedures until May. And then when we started, it was interesting because the spa world took a bigger hit. So we weren't allowed to do anything with microneedling, dermaplaning, peel. I mean, they really didn't want us doing a lot. Now we're basically allowed to do just about anything we want. But we have kept, on the cosmetic side, we're at about 65–70% of our capacity. And on the med derm side, we're about 60%, 65% of our capacity. Mainly because it just takes so much longer to get people checked in, and we don't want people to congregate. So if you know anything about my setup, I have a reception area in my med derm that I usually can seat 50 people or so. And at any given time, we may have 3. And they're put in different corners, and everybody else gets, as soon as you're ready, you go to a room. And so, but you have to do the temperature checks. You have to do the pre-screening questionnaires. We have a COVID consent form. That takes time on top of verifying insurance on the med derm side and everything else that we're doing. On the cosmetic side, again, we are very cautious because we're dealing with faces. And again, some of the programs that we just finished a promotion called Above the Mask. So that was everything that when you're out and about. Now we're doing one called Below the Mask, which is everything under the mask, really. And that requires the mask coming down. And so, our staff have to be in masks and goggles and face shields and protective equipment. And, so that takes time and that takes effort as well as all the screening. So I'm not ready to be at 100%. I don't think I have to be at 100% to be okay right now. And the fact, as you said, I'm not traveling. I'm here every day, so it's okay. So.
Are you spending more time with each patient?
Yeah, I actually talk to my patients now. So my clinic, in our clinic, we're a bunch of providers. We have 50 people working here, and I'm known. I always tell people on the medical side, if I walk in and I don't know what you have and what I'm going to do, I could be there for 1 minute or an hour and I'm not going to know what to do. So, but I actually talk to my patients on the med derm side. I've always talked to my cosmetic patients much more, but I think I've gotten much better actually at communicating with my med derm patients. I think some of them are surprised that, but it's okay. I'm not complaining either way.
No, which is good. I mean, but I can understand where people just are a little bit nervous. What about Botox? What about filler? What about facials? You have to take your mask off.
Right. So you have to take your mask off. You have to do the precautions, and I also, we've encountered lots of people that have had COVID, okay? And that, makes me feel okay, but it makes some of my staff uncomfortable. Hey, they had COVID, maybe they still have it, or they still, do they have antibodies, or are they still shedding viruses? But again, in our practice, we're overly cautious. We're overly careful, and if somebody is exposed to if one of my employees are exposed, they're out until they have negative tests. If they get, whatever, then they close contact, they have to quarantine. I mean, we still go by every CDC guideline because that's what you're supposed to do.
So now you're testing devices, and I'm excited to hear about the devices. And are you testing them on your staff? Are you testing them on your patients?
So I think we also have a very large research group in our practice, and so we are playing with several devices that are FDA approved, trying to sort of hone in on the proper parameters, the proper candidates for some of these devices. I think one of the things that we have seen during this period of time is the companies, especially on the laser or energy-based device side, the companies have sort of decided that in order to prepare for the next cycle of selling, they better be doing their research work now. And so that's good for people like me that do these kind of studies and do the kind of research. So we are evaluating a bunch of new devices, some for skin tightening, some for fat reduction, some for improving hair removal results. So instead of using one wavelength, we're doing things with multiple wavelengths, and there are several companies that are working on that, which is exciting because most people think hair removal, no big deal, but hair removal is a great driver of a lot of business. So there's a lot of research on that. The botulinum toxin research world is booming right now. And so we're going to have lots of different, we have what, 4 botulinum toxins now? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 now. About to have a 5th one. There's a 6th one in development. And then the others are trying to figure out how to extend the duration of effect. So there's lots of clinical work being done on that, which is, again, for my patients, it's a benefit because they get to participate if they meet the inclusion criteria and don't have the exclusion criteria. So, and research went from a world of being 90% virtual during the shutdown periods. Now everything's open here and we're doing what we're supposed to. So I think that you're going to see, we've heard these comments from the quote unquote experts out there that crunch numbers that it's going to take 5 years for the energy-based device world to get back to normal, and it'll take the injectable world, 2 or 3 years. I'm not that pessimistic. I think everybody will come back a lot sooner.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Just seeing the movement and what is happening, whether we're watching ourselves on Zoom and want to look good, or like you said, above or below the mask. People still want to look good and they look in the mirror, or they're working from home on video. Maybe not out and about as much, but people are still going out and they still want to look good and feel good about themselves.
Right. I think you're right. So there's an ambulance driving by. Sorry if you hear that. But yeah, I think people have become a lot more self-conscious because of the Zoom worlds. I mean, I really do. And, it's for us in our space, it's a good thing. I also think people always must have realistic expectations because what they may not have seen themselves so much before in the mirror, if you will. And we're now seeing we're seeing a lot more of each other in the mirror. So we have opportunities to to help everybody a lot.
So with your non-surgical procedures that you do, or your med spa does, where do you see the uptick now?
So the areas that we're focusing on, okay, I always am busy with photo damage and people with tattoos and those kind of things are always busy. But I think the biggest things that I'm seeing now is treatments around the eyes. And again, I think it's a lot of it with the mask. Treatments around the eyes, which includes toxins, and it includes RF radio frequency type things. So anything with skin tightening, this is a big area. I also see it's also interesting because of Zoom, lips have become very popular again. Not that lips ever went out of style, but I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't see a lot of lips. Now we're seeing a lot of lips as people want to, again, get into that Zoom world or whatever. But we're then also seeing a lot of people interested in the tightening and what we can do for the necks and the chest area. So necks and décolleté become very important, not only from, you have things like hyperdilute radiesse and Sculptra, but we have devices like Ulthera and Softwave that can work really well there. As well as the cool sculpting on the neck, and so we have a lot of things that we can do. And then obviously the other area that's gotten really big, and I don't know what you call it up in the Northeast, but whether it's the quarantine 20, like the freshman 15 and 20, people for the most, there are people out there that have sort of gotten into baking and eating and not worrying about it and so forth. So, so body contouring has become big time. And again, and I think when you think of body contouring, we now have hands-free devices. We have lasers that are pretty good at this. Again, between RF and then muscle tightening. So there's certain devices that have done really well during this time. And again, there's a couple of them that are hands-free, and that makes it even better for the comfort level of the clinician as well as the client.
So they don't have to stay in the room with them the whole time is what you
Correct.
mean, or a home device.
Correct. Well, no, I'm talking about, so it's mainly you set up the device, you wrap them into their applicators, and then you can basically hook them up for 20 to 30 minutes per treatment area, and you don't have to be in there doing the treatment. So you lessen any potential risks.
Right, which is great. So somebody can be doing something
Right.
else.
And we have hands-free devices for tightening of the face and neck. So we again, I think that part of the world has gotten very popular.
And the whole, not touching forms and not touching information, not touching money and credit cards, everything being contactless. Have you implemented anything new?
I mean, we are chartless, so that's always been our case. But we actually have a super bill system and an intake system that we do on paper. But having said that, we used to put them on folders or like manila folders, and that they would go back with the patient into the room. So we had some sort of documentation of who the person was and some information I needed. Now it's all done with plastic binders. And those plastic binders, once we're done, so they go from a nurse to me to a cleaning service. And so again, yes, there's some paper involved, but that the paper is immediately scanned or shredded, and the plastic binders that we use instead of paper, the manila ones, they're cleaned on a regular basis, and patients aren't allowed to touch. We don't share pens. We don't share anything. We will do a credit card thing. We're not doing that totally paperless yet, but we have ways that we can do that if people want. And again, we have hand sanitizer stations all over the office. Between every patient, we're cleaning the rooms spotlessly. We deep clean on a regular basis. So everything we're trying to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're doing a great job at it because you are not at full capacity, but you're very busy, which is great. And
yeah, I brag on my staff. I have a really good staff, right? And so I think it's also important to that I tell people we're 50 of us, and when we shut down, we had 50 people come to work.
Oh, that's great.
We
And you know
never,
what?
we never shut the office. We cut our hours. Cosmetic went away. Emergent dermatology remained, which meant we went from 200 to 250 people a day to like 5, but I didn't care. We just kept everybody working and doing projects, and so we kept them busy enough that I was able to keep everybody working, and so it's a good team that they understand that we've all gone out of our ways to make everybody at least continue to have a job.
Which is important. And when you say you have a good staff, remember, I mean, the way I look at it as a consultant in this business world, it starts at the top with somebody like you who cares about your staff. And I'm sure that you take good care of them, almost like they're family members. And so because of that, they're devoted to you and they're loyal to you. And then they'll be loyal to the patient. So if you have happy staff, I always believe you'll have happy patients. I mean, it really goes hand in hand.
Right. And I think you know me pretty well. I have done as good as I know how to sort of keep calm, keep cool. Where's our patients? I mean, we're used to being nonstop.
Yeah.
And so, but the reality is, and I meet with my staff regularly, and I remember during April, May, June, July, I'm like, I don't care how many people we see. I don't care. This is our plan. This is what we're doing. And again, the whole thing was around safety. And if you look at any of my social media, which I have people do for me, safety is the only thing we talked about. We didn't care about anything else at the beginning. We used to, talk about this, if we were doing a promotion or we're doing something, and the only thing that mattered to us is we are doing everything safely. And if you relay that out, and again, you have the staff that helps do that, then it works. And so, so for us, the whole thing has worked. I just think that, you have to be willing to, everybody's got to be willing to understand we are not going to be normal for a long time. I mean, we are not going to go back to the fact of, running a meeting with 10,000 people or 2,000 people or whatever. We're going to have some people come live if they live or feel whatever, and they want to travel, but we're always going to have this virtual world. And so I think even on the patient care side, so you do your consults. I know a lot of my cosmetic, plastic surgeons, facial plastic surgeons, they're spending a lot of time doing consults on this kind of platform. I think it's great. It's not for me. I don't want to do it that way. I never wanted to do it that way. We did talk to a lot of people. During that time, we still do telehealth on the derm side, but on the cosmetic side, I don't like doing the cosmetic. I just don't think you can see everything the same, but I'm happy to give some advice, and then if they want to come in and get a real consult, then that's how I do it. But I think that we're going to always have a component of this virtual, working with us. It's going to be here for a long time.
And I agree with you. The truth is, silver lining to the online virtual is it does save time, and you can close consults, and you can book appointments without somebody having to come in. Do you have other people in your office that can do a consult for skincare or for aesthetics other than yourself?
So I have mid-levels, and I have estheticians, and I have a laser staff that does injectables as well. They all do telemedicine. So they've all been on the platforms talking to people, and so forth. So again, we have a pretty decent online skin store presence. So our team will be happy to get on and look at you, talk to you, find the right skincare routine that works for you. If somebody is interested in injectables or lasers or whatever, we have people that can do that. And we do that. We do it a lot, but again, it's not something that I want to make, I'd rather do it in person, but also understand, like somebody I talked to today, I hadn't seen in 3 years on the med derm side. And I'm like, she wanted her Sebderm medicine renewed. And I'm like, well, I haven't seen you in 3 years. I said, are you getting out? She goes, Dr. Gold, I haven't left my house since March 1st or March, whatever. And so she said, I get my medicines brought over, and left at the door. I get my groceries. One of my kids brings them over. She goes, I'm just too scared. So, it's still okay. But eventually she's going to have to get out, as most people will.
Yeah, and there are people who are more scared than others, but I mean, you and I both know we just do things, very carefully. And we talked about, going out for dinner and going out. We just do outdoor things. I don't know what's going to happen in the wintertime, but right now it's working, and everybody has to just get used to it, normal. Because you and I both agree it's going to be maybe another year.
Right. And if you look at, again, I focus on Tennessee, but you hear that in New York, they want to shut down this place, this place, this place. In the last 2 days, our numbers have doubled in Tennessee. All right. So we're not a big, we're not a big state, but we've got a lot of COVID. And so to see the state numbers and in the since Sunday, we've tripled or more in Nashville. So we're not getting better. And again, it's been cold here the last few days. I mean, in the 40s for temperatures at night. So people are being inside when they go out, and they want to be inside. And I get all that. But if the numbers don't go down, we're in trouble.
I mean, so do you have plans, where if the numbers go up and we have to go back to semi-closing down, you just go back to where you were and just.
So I've told this in public forums before. I can survive as a dermatologist that does cosmetic dermatology too. So everybody that's listening, most people that know me, they think of that I'm a cosmetic dermatologist. That's all I do. I see a ton of cosmetics, and I'm passionate about my cosmetics, but I'm a dermatologist, so I see MedDerm all day. So even if we have to close down or do something, MedDerm doesn't go away. It may be harder to get people in the office, but MedDerm doesn't go away. So acne, eczema, psoriasis, skin cancers, warts, they don't go away until we treat them. Botox and fillers can go away for a little while. And lasers can go away for a while, but the MedDerm won't. So I think what in my mind is, if we have to shut down again of any significance, we may lose half the companies in our space, because I'm not sure they can go through another furlough, letting half their sales force go, and be able to survive a financial loss of that much. If I have to shut down for a long period of time, I'm not sure I want to do it again. Great. So I get, I work 4.5 days a week. So I work 4.5 days. I work 4 days a week, less hours when I was sort of on closure time. Maybe I'll just go to the golf course. I don't know what I'll do. But I think it's going to be harder for some of the companies if we have to actually shut down again and get into more problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Hopefully it'll be a happy ending. But
it'll be an ending. And again, as you know, pre-COVID, I spend an awful lot of time in China. I miss the heck out of not being there and seeing my friends and being in their operating rooms and seeing just an incredible medical machine that I know exists over there. But I also remember everybody wearing masks when they're out in public. It is no big deal. And especially in that kind of environment, when you go to China or you go to Vietnam or you go to the Philippines or you go to Korea, people are okay in masks. Okay, we're not okay in masks out in public. But you know what? Until it gets to a point where it's safe, that's our norm. And so, that's what we're going to do.
No, I mean, that is it. There's no question. What about the hair? I know you're also involved in the hair market to some extent. And, because of, again, the Zoom and people looking at themselves in the mirror, there has been more and more growth in the hair loss and hair restoration industry.
Yeah. So
What have you seen?
I think so. I think, again, I think, first of all, when you look at the overall hair market, the hair restoration market, it is only a fraction, like the toxin world and everything else, but it's a fraction of who are interested, men and women. And I think that with the advent of certain things, so I think, so we have minoxidil, we have finasteride for men, that's FDA approved, minoxidil for men and women, that's FDA approved. But we also have PRP. PRP works. There are lots of different PRP, PRF, PR, whatever systems out there. And I tell people, find the one you like, but also remember they're all different to a certain degree. And PRP definitely works for our patients with hair loss, as well as there are several new laser systems that are delivering fractional, like thulium 1927 lasers, that you can create little microchannels and then put proprietary serums or PRP or whatever you like into the scalp, and that has shown to grow a lot of hair. So that's really good, and again, minimally invasive, so that's not too bad. And then I think the hair transplantation world is, is much better than it was, whether and we have what are called follicular units that we're using. And there are a couple machines out there, one being Neograph, one called Artist. They're both owned by the same company. We have our person here is a plastic surgeon who has spent the last 25 years of his career dealing just with hair. And so, once they came back, okay, then that business became big again. You can wear a mask and protect as good as you can for a lot of that procedure, or most of that procedure, because you're really just working on scalps. And so it can be made into a safe environment. And if you're doing PRP or something else, it can be safe. So I think all that's important. And I think that overall, you're going to see a big rise. So I think that, you have Viviscal and Nutrafol as supplements that, again, I'm not wanting to talk brand names, but one of them, Nutrafol they have a new, stress relief formulation. They're all getting understanding that things aren't the same today as they were 7 months ago in the US, and they're all adapting. But I think that market is potentially humongous moving forward. Again, mainly because of Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And a lot of the younger generation are very into the liquid collagens and more vitamins and nutraceuticals.
Right. So we have, and again, I always caution people out there, if it's just hey, I've got a liquid and it's got no science behind it, or a nutraceutical and it's got no science behind it, be careful. But if, I dispense some of these liquid collagen boosters and skincare, things that I think have enough science behind that I like. And, it's not going to hurt anybody. And if it gives them a little bit of benefit, then I'm all for it.
Do you see a difference in the skin? Do you take pictures like before and after, let's say with any of these collagen products?
So whenever we start sort of quote unquote looking at some of these products, we'll put some of our staff on them first, and they're all pictured. And then patients, if they'll let us, then we take pictures. So in order, if it's in my spa or, in our store system, it's gone through at least us looking at them to make sure they actually do something. And then, as I said, we always play around with different products. So we're playing around with some skincare products that, you've never heard of yet. Again, looking at different things and different ways to do it, and working with some very important and very special chemists. And we'll see what, maybe in a year or so, we'll have a whole new skincare range to be able to actually predict how the skin's going to respond and things like that. That's sort of the goal, using AI, using intelligence and smart technology to help you with a skincare routine.
Yeah, I mean, that is the future. There's no question about that.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
glad that you're part of it. We'll have to do an interview just on that.
There
But
you go.
consumers tend to want more information. They're online. They're looking up information all the time. They're considering all the factors. All their purchases are driven by desire, especially with the cosmetic aesthetic world, and making decisions on what to purchase. And maybe people are nervous about how much can I spend now, and do I have the extra money to do the
Right.
Botox and the filler and the lasers and the resurfacing. So, partnering with a patient financing company, I've always been a big believer in, because it's making it affordable. It's a partnership for the practice with the patients. Some have, let's say it's care credit, some will have the care credit card. So it makes it very easy to make a transaction and make sales. But and I know that you have patient financing options and believe in them.
So we've had care credit. Always had care credit. There have been other systems out there, and again, I think it's fine to pick the one you like or have several that you can offer your patients. I think that I think that the biggest concern that I have is not taking care credit, is making sure that the client doesn't overstep their bounds, again, in a COVID world. So I think that we as providers also need to be cognizant of the fact that, yes, we're doing a $5,000 procedure, and this patient really can't afford a $5,000 procedure, but just go to care credit and they'll give you the money, and then you worry about care credit and you pay them off, versus it's a $5,000 procedure, and I know this person's probably struggling a little bit more than they used to, so maybe we'll just hold off, or maybe we'll pick another procedure that's $1,000 or whatever. But the care credits of the world are great. So again, if you have the credit and you are able to do all this, and you're comfortable with the payouts that you have to make, I love getting paid by care credit. I mean, I get paid as soon as I do something. So that's fine. And I think that, again, I think every office should have that available to our people, because again, that helps a lot in the overriding factor, am I going to have this done? But at the same time, as I said, I get a little more concerned, because of the situation that we're in now, and do they have a job? Do they have an income that's going to support doing what they want to do? I think all that becomes part of the conversations that I never had before that I'm having now. So it all ties back into, maybe I'm learning who my patients are better. And so you can teach somebody my age new things.
Well, I'm glad you're spending more time with your patients, because I'm sure that they are learning more about you, and you're educating them more, and you have a great personality. So I guess they're getting to see the real you without rushing out of the room,
Probably.
which is great. The last thing on the patient financing is, some of the providers feel like, oh, we have to pay a percentage, but you know what? It's a partnership. And like you said, you get paid within a day or two.
Yeah. So again, how do they come up with the concept? It's a $5,000 procedure. It's an $8,000 procedure. So they only get 7,500 of that 8. Who cares? I mean, you got to think through this thing. If I have a choice between collecting 7,500 out of the 8 or 0, which one wins?
Right.
Yeah, it's okay.
But you also have a balance of being an amazing physician, but also a businessman with business strategy. And there's a lot of physicians, unfortunately, who are great physicians, and they did great in medical school. They're great with their patients, but they don't have the business background. They don't have the business savviness that you have.
No, I don't know how much savviness, but I love the business part of it. It's always been a fun part of it, because again, it's a business. I mean, any way you slice it, this is a business.
Absolutely.
But we're in the A, do no harm world, and B, take care of our patients well world. That's most important.
That is the primary. I mean, there's no question about it. So with key takeaways, say, for expanding your practice, if somebody's on and they want to expand their practice, or maybe they're starting up, and we've gotten a lot of startup calls and interesting in this world that people are still starting up, you know, medical spas or aesthetic centers.
So
Wellness
yeah,
centers.
so I think if you're starting out now, I think you've got to be, you know, you just got to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's as far as all the precautions that you need to take in setting up an office. That's the most important. But I think if you are interested in setting up an office in the cosmetic arena, especially in the energy-based side, this is a wonderful time to buy devices if you can afford them, or you can get credit to afford them, because you know the companies will tell you they don't make any deals, but their financing options are great, and the promotional activities for a lot of these companies allow you to buy things with added value than what you might have gotten 7 months ago. So that's good. But I think, and again, on the toxin filler side, you know, there are opportunities out there with new partnerships and new things that are going on.
And what about the training? Are you doing any training of any sort?
So
Virtual?
that's changed a lot. I mean, we're so, yeah, I mean, so I think every one of the companies has arranged virtual training. We have a large enough office so that I can train in a conference room with a very small amount of people, you know, very far apart. So we can do that. We've done a lot of Zoom training, you know, again, virtual type of training. And then there are certain things that we have to have people come in for. And again, you do the precautions. You know, more power to these companies. They're sending people around because they're finally getting out and they're getting comfortable. So that's fine if that's what they want to do. You know, I'm not training virtual. I mean, I'm giving tons of lectures at virtual meetings. I mean, I do 5 or 6 a week, which is fine. So hopefully people are learning from me what I do and how I do it. But you know, where we used to have lots of people come to our office, or I would go train somebody somewhere, I'm not doing right now.
Are you letting the reps in? Just a thought.
So sales reps are not allowed in our space. That's sort of a mandate from our health department. However, having said that, I have a huge common space in my building where we have a concierge desk and all that kind of stuff. So our reps can come to the outside of our space and we will meet them outside. So again, they have to be masked and everything, but they're not allowed in our physical space at all.
No, and I think that's a great, you know, option to be able to meet somebody outside, especially, well, now. I don't know what's going to happen in a few months.
But
But
yeah, but I mean, and when I mean outside, sometimes it's outside, but sometimes it's outside our physical space, but inside a building.
Okay.
But again, and it's on the med side, it's mainly to give samples. On the skincare side, it's mainly to give samples. I mean, so yeah, it works okay, but they're not allowed in.
Right, which I think is probably the proper way right now to protect yourself and your staff. But
Correct.
I'm happy to hear that everything is going as well as possible. And the next scale meeting, there's no date.
Hopefully live. We'll see. It's in May, so we're back to our May time frame, and yeah, I mean it's interesting because I'm holding. So this is the new brochure. It's ready.
Cool.
It's going to go out today or tomorrow or by next week. But it's at the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Nashville opened up this past weekend.
Oh, wow.
The brand new part of something called Nashville Yards. If you know New York and Hudson Yards, this is the same development, except ours isn't as much. Ours is the Grand Hyatt on one side, there's an MGM Grand on the other side, and there's 3 Amazon towers in the middle. So again, if you haven't seen Nashville, this is craziness. But this is a spectacular hotel that just opened up, and so
And that is a great place. I mean, whenever
and
I'm.
that's where the next 4 scales will be. So
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I look forward to it. And I thank you for your time.
thank you.
And all of your education and pearls. And I'm sure everybody appreciates it. There are some questions. Some of them will have them just email you.
Sure.
your staff directly, because they were, some of them you already answered, but there were a couple of others that they wanted to ask you privately. So we'll send those over to you. And I thank you for your
Absolutely.
time today very much.
All right. I appreciate it. Everybody stay safe. Cheryl, we'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. So today's webinar was great with Dr. Gold. And when you get your automatic thank you, you will get a downloadable article that will actually help you with your practice and with your patient flow. You can go to beautifulforever.com at any time. And every week and every month, we're adding all of our new tips, our Beautiful Forever University, new articles, lots of good education. All of the webinars that we're doing and the interviews weekly, bi-weekly will be up there as well. But it is important to keep your menu updated, keep things rolling and going. And now is probably a great time to start really thinking about a virtual holiday event and start promoting it. Save the dates to go out. We have a digital resource guide that has a lot of great information about events. And there's a checklist in there as well. And it's available at 50% off if you go onto beautifulforever.com and use the discount code PROFIT, or you can go onto Amazon. The PROFIT discount code is for the digital version. The hardcover book is on Amazon. And I'm happy to do a complimentary session with you to expand your profit centers for the fall season, help you for 2021 for growth and expansion, no matter how small or large you are. And our mentorship program, I'm going to launch sooner than later, but we do have a bunch of people already signed up. So if you know anybody who needs mentoring, happy to meet with them. And save the date coming up are our next 4, but we have even more surprises, but save the dates for our programs, expert interviews with key opinion leaders, deep dive into the hottest trends into plastic surgery, anesthetics with Dr. Rubenstein, which is on October 23rd. We actually have Jeffrey Siegel, a very well-known, famous medical justice, board-certified neurosurgeon who is also a lawyer, who's going to talk about legal difficulties and legal implications in the med spa aesthetic world. And Dr. Susan Merman talking about educating your women in your practice about hormones and growing your patient base. And we invited back Lori Kane to talk about what's happening in the med spa, skincare, and retail world, where she's an expert and also runs a plastic surgery practice. So I look forward to you saving the dates. Sign up early because we really do have a limit for who can join us. And then if you cannot join us, that's fine too, because you'll always get the link in a thank you note with the downloadable article. And so I look forward to seeing you next time. Any questions you have, I'm open for questions and answers. Cheryl at beautifulforever.com, and the Beautiful Forever University is excited about their membership programs that we're working towards. So any questions, we're here for you, and have a great day.